Hello, everyone, and thank you for visiting my channel. Today, I would like to talk about the behaviors Filipinos display normally, which some expats may consider rude. Stay tuned. Cultural adaptation presents one of the greatest challenges for expats who choose to live in the Philippines. While the country is renowned for its hospitality, friendliness, and warmth toward expats, misunderstandings can frequently occur. What is considered normal Filipino behavior may be perceived as rude, offensive, or disrespectful by those raised in different cultural backgrounds. These differences stem not from bad intentions, but from divergent cultural traditions, social norms, and communication styles. For many expats, fully enjoying life in the Philippines involves not only learning about Filipino food, music, and festivals, but also understanding the nuances of Filipino manners and behavior. Without this awareness, even everyday situations can lead to friction or confusion. One of the first things many expats notice upon arriving in the Philippines is that people tend to stare. Whether walking down the street, dining at a restaurant, or shopping at the mall, expats often feel the gaze of locals upon them. For Westerners, prolonged staring can feel invasive or aggressive, but in the Philippines, it is merely a form of curiosity and observation. Filipinos are naturally curious about others, especially expats who may look, speak, or dress differently. In rural areas, an expat may become the center of attention, with groups of people staring, giggling, or whispering. What an expat might interpret as rudeness is often just an innocent reaction. Generally, Filipinos do not view staring as impolite, particularly when it involves observing something or someone out of the ordinary. The key is to avoid responsive defensively. A simple smile can break the ice, transforming an uncomfortable situation into a friendly interaction. Understanding that this behavior arises from curiosity rather than hostility helps to prevent feelings of resentment. Another behavior that confuses and sometimes annoys expats is the Filipino tendency to point with their lips. Instead of using their finger to indicate an object or direction, Filipinos often purse their lips and gesture subtly. To a Westerner, this can seem dismissive, lazy, or even mocking. However, in Filipino culture, pointing with the fingers is considered rude in many contexts, particularly when directed at a person. Lip pointing is a culturally acceptable and less confrontational alternative. It is subtle, avoids unnecessary words, and communicates direction efficiently. What looks strange or disrespectful to an expat is simply a deeply ingrained nonverbal habit. Filipinos are remarkably adept at laughing, especially in trying or awkward circumstances. For many expats, laughter at times of conflict, embarrassment, or stress can appear rude, insensitive, or dismissive. Imagine an expat struggling with Tagalog, mispronouncing a word, and the Filipinos around him burst into laughter. To the expat, it may feel as though they are being mocked, but to the locals, the laughter is not cruel. It is a natural, light-hearted response to ease tension and awkwardness. This conduct stems from a societal inclination to downplay the gravity of a problem and avoid conflict. Humor is a coping mechanism, a way to save face, and a social glue that prevents conflicts from escalating. One of the most common complaints among expats in the Philippines is that locals rarely say no directly. Filipinos often use vague responses such as maybe, I'll try, we'll see, or later. This can come across as elusive, dishonest, or annoying to Westerners used to direct communication. Direct refusal, however, is regarded as impolite in Filipino society, as it may generate embarrassment or controversy for the other person. The speaker maintains harmony and steers clear of offending anyone by providing an oblique response. This is a deeply rooted discipline called pakikisama, smooth interpersonal relationships. Filipinos are actually demonstrating respect, but expats who mistakenly see indirectness as carelessness or indolence frequently grow resentful. Knowing that no is rarely said directly and that yes may not always indicate agreement aids expats in modifying their expectations. Another cultural norm that expats often interpret as rude is the Filipino sense of time. In the West, punctuality is viewed as a sign of respect. Arriving late, even by 10 minutes, can be seen as disrespectful. However, Filipino time in the Philippines referred to a more relaxed and easygoing attitude. Parties, social gatherings, and even certain business meetings often start much later than scheduled. Being late is just part of the culture and is not considered disrespectful. Expats who insist on strict punctuality may find themselves frustrated, while locals can't understand why a foreigner is upset about a 30-minute delay. Instead of viewing Filipino time as disrespectful, expats should see it as a cultural rhythm. Flexibility, patience, and humor are key to adapting to this aspect of Filipino life. Interrupting someone while they are speaking is generally seen as impolite in Western countries. However, in the Philippines, group conversations often involve multiple people talking at once, overlapping or jumping in mid sentence. To expats, this can feel chaotic or disrespectful, but in Filipino culture, it's not meant to cut someone off. Instead, it reflects excitement, enthusiasm, and engagement in the conversation. The communal style of communication means silence is quickly filled, and multiple voices create a lively social atmosphere. Learning to adapt to this conversational flow, rather than expecting quiet turn taken, helps reduce frustration. Another behavior that expats sometimes misinterpret as rude is the Filipino habit of asking very personal questions early in a conversation. Questions about age, marital status, income, rent, and reasons for not being married are often asked of expats. These topics are considered private in Western societies, and it can be seen as rude to ask about them directly. However, in the Philippines, such questions are a normal way to show interest and build rapport. They are not meant to pry or offend, but to establish familiarity and connection. Since family and relationships are central to Filipino identity, asking about them is a way of understanding a person's background. Expats who respond with humor or a lighthearted answer usually earn respect, while those who take offense may seem cold or unfriendly. Expats often notice that Filipinos are louder in public spaces compared to Western norms. Whether on buses, in markets, or during festivals, conversations, laughter, and music are often loud. This may seem rude or disturbing to an expat, but to Filipinos, making noise is simply a way to celebrate happiness and community. Group activities are valued in this communal culture, and noise is rarely seen as objectionable. Because it helps foster social bonds, even late night karaoke sessions are often accepted. It's easier for expats to integrate if they embrace the lively atmosphere instead of fighting it. In Filipino households and communities, sharing is a deeply ingrained tradition. Family members, friends, and even neighbors often borrow food, clothes, or tools without asking each time. For Western expats who value personal ownership and boundaries, this can feel like disrespect or invasion of privacy. Nonetheless, community sharing symbolizes closeness and trust in Filipino culture. Refusing to share might even be seen as disrespectful or selfish. Being aware of this cultural difference helps expats see borrowing as a sign of belonging and community rather than rudeness. Expats sometimes feel left out when Filipinos switch to speak in Tagalog or their local dialect in a group, even when expats are present. This can seem impolite or exclusionary. However, Filipino naturally do this without intending to offend. Speaking the native language is natural, efficient, and comfortable. Expats should accept this as normal behavior rather than viewing it as deliberate exclusion. Learning simple Tagalog or Bisaya phrases over time can help build respect and bridge this gap. Expats often notice that Filipinos avoid admitting mistakes or offering straightforward apologies. For Westerners, accountability and saying sorry are essential signs of respect. When locals avoid doing so, expats might interpret this as arrogance or rudeness. In reality, this behavior reflects the cultural importance placed on preserving one's reputation. Directly admitting faults can cause embarrassment and shame, which Filipinos aim to prevent for themselves and others. Instead of a direct apology, they may offer a gesture, a smile, or humor as a way of reconciliation. Recognizing these indirect methods as forms of apology can help reduce misunderstandings. Filipinos often use nicknames or terms of endearment even for people they have just met. Expats might be called kuya, older brother, ate, older sister, or given playful nicknames. This may seem too informal or even insulting to some expats, especially in official settings. However, Nickname serves as a way to foster closeness and break down barriers in Filipino culture. Among friends, using sir or madam can be seen as too informal, while nicknames convey acceptance and warmth. Embracing these expressions of endearment helps foster a sense of rapport with locals. Filipino eating customs can also be surprising or even seen as impolite by some expats. Slurping noodles, leaving rice grains on the plate, or eating with the hands can all be misunderstood. Additionally, it may come across as overbearing to keep offering food after a guest has declined. However, these customs reflect friendliness and cultural pride. It is customary and considered more enjoyable to eat with your hands. Offering food multiple times shows a genuine desire for the guest to eat. In reality, what expats see as rudeness is often just generosity and friendliness. Many expats dating or marrying Filipinas are surprised by how involved the family can be. Relatives might ask personal questions, give unsolicited advice, or even interfere in decisions. To most expats, this might seem intrusive or disrespectful, but in Filipino society, family is extremely important. Decisions are usually made collectively rather than individually. What seems like rudeness is actually a sign of care, responsibility, and a collective identity. Expats who accept this tend to have smoother relationships with their partner's family. Filipinos often make direct comments about physical appearance. You got fat, you look thin, or your skin is dark. In many Western cultures, such remarks are considered rude, but in the Philippines, they are neutral observations. They aim to acknowledge change or differences rather than offend. Expats who get offended may misunderstand the intention. Understanding that these comments are not personal attacks, but conversational openers helps reduce sensitivity. In conclusion, what expats often see as rude behavior in the Philippines usually stems from cultural differences. Here, it's normal to stare, be indirect, chuckle at serious situations, or ask personal questions within Filipino culture. When visitors try to understand local customs instead of judging these acts through their own cultural lens, misunderstandings happen. The key for expats is cultural humility, recognizing that what feels rude might not be at all, and learning to interpret behaviors within the Filipino value system. Doing so not only reduces frustration, but also helps build deeper, more meaningful relationships with Filipinos. Living in the Philippines offers many rewards: warm friendships, vibrant culture, and a slower lifestyle, while only a few can adjust your expectations. Behaviors that may seem offensive at first are often expressions of friendliness, community, and a desire for harmony. For those who embrace these differences with patience and humor, the Philippines can feel not just welcoming, but like a true home. All right, guys, that is all for today's show. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to share them in the comments section below. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a good day.